Hi, and welcome to Wandering Wild. It's Wild Wednesday, and we're going to learn all about the belted kingfisher. Okay guys, if you watched Monday's video, you know that we went hiking together, and we saw a belted kingfisher, which is really exciting, and it made me fangirl over a bird, basically. So I thought today would be the perfect opportunity to tell you a little bit more about that bird so that next time you can fangirl with me. Sound good? Okay, so basically the kingfisher is a member of the Alcedinidae family, which is the family of kingfishers. So if you look at this picture right here, you're going to notice that they all kind of look similar, as birds in similar families tend to do. And so those major distinguishing characteristics of a kingfisher are going to be that big, thick bill and a really large head. Now, the reason they have a large head is because they tend to eat fish and they'll swallow them whole. So having a large head allows for that to go down smoothly, so to speak. Now, the belted kingfisher has the scientific name Megacerle alcyon. Now, this kingfisher is the only one native to Canada and North America. So most of your kingfishers are going to be found in other places, sometimes more tropical areas, and they're more brightly colored. But the belted kingfisher is our North American species here. And though it's found in some areas all year round, they tend to migrate south during the winter so that they can fish in waters that aren't frozen over. So the kingfisher that we saw on Monday, he probably does stay here all year round because Georgia is one of those areas that keeps kingfishers for the whole year. But he could have been visiting from somewhere like New York or Maine or Michigan or something like that because our waters are not frozen over down here. Now, you notice that the kingfisher is kind of a stocky bird. It's about 11 to 14 inches long and can weigh about 4 to 6 ounces, okay? Now, the distinguishing characteristics for this kingfisher, aside from that large head and long, thick bill, are its beautiful blue feathers. And then also, males and females, and this is really unique. So, males and females do look different. However, the females of the belted kingfisher species are more brightly colored than the males. So you've probably picked up over the course of our little series here that usually the males are more brightly colored, but in this case it's the females. And we don't really know why that is in this case. It's how they happen to be, and maybe in this kind of situation that it's more male-based mating, so the males choose their mates rather than the females. So they have this blue belt across their chest, and females, this is how you tell the two apart. A female has a rufous kind of rust colored belt across her chest as well. The males don't have this. So that's how I automatically knew that the kingfisher we saw on Monday was a male, because he only had a blue stripe. He did not have that kind of copper colored stripe. Now, another big thing you're going to notice about this kingfisher is that it has that nice crest on the top of his head. Just makes him look like he has a crazy hairdo. And he can lay that down if he's diving to reduce air resistance, if he's like diving for a fish, or he can stand it up to look all pretty or to make himself look bigger to predators and things. And that's how I initially knew that it wasn't a blue jay. So if you notice when you watch the video, I was like, oh look, a blue jay, because they're very much similar in color and size. But then he stood that crest up on his head and I was like, oh, not a blue jay. And then I got really excited. So that's kind of the things you look for when you're bird watching, is those key markers. So you're going to look for that crest, you're going to look for that big beak, and then you're going to look for a band to see if it's male or female, which is really awesome because a lot of times looking at a bird, you can't tell if it's male or female. Now, one way you're going to more than likely see a kingfisher is that they tend to sit on the top of posts, light poles, limbs, and a lot of times they'll pick one, and that's going to be where they always sit and look for prey. So if you hear Rosie in the background of this video, I'm sorry. She really wants out, and I can't let her out while I'm filming because she'll knock my tripod over. So she's like really trying to get my attention. So I'm sorry if you hear her in the background just a little bit. Alright, so when I was in school, we actually went on a trip down to Sapelo, which is an island off the coast of Georgia. And my professor, when we were driving into where we were going to stay, he was like, hey, everybody, we're coming up on this light post. Be sure that you're looking because there's a kingfisher that's always sitting on that light post. And sure enough, as soon as we drove off, there was a kingfisher sitting on the top of this light post, and he dove off right when we drove by. So a lot of times they're going to choose that kind of like, this is where I'm going to look for fish area, and that's where you'll tend to see them. And I think on Monday I had interrupted him because he flew right towards that post on the fence I was sitting on and sat down, but then he saw me and he was like, whoa, this area is taken. So I think he probably sits right there and looks for fish. But basically that's a really great way to see them, and if you see their silhouette against the sky, you're really going to know what you're seeing because that large head and the big beak. Now, kingfishers eat fish, but they'll also eat small crustaceans or amphibians, things like that. And the way they get this food is that they dive headfirst into the water to get the food that they want. So they fish headfirst, which is actually quite unique. A lot of birds dive and then they grab with their feet, but a kingfisher grabs with its beak. Now, kingfishers are mostly solitary animals, so you're really just going to see one and they claim their territory. But when they do mate, the pair will vigorously defend their territory. So if where I was had been an area where a pair of kingfishers had decided to make their nest, I would have been chased off, okay? I would not have been allowed to stay right there and look for birds and things. And so they do this, and then they also dig their burrow. So the way they nest is they actually burrow into the side of like a creek bed or into the ground. And this burrow is almost always pointed uphill. And that's where they're going to lay about 5 to 8 eggs, which they're both going to incubate and they're both going to feed the chicks when they hatch. Now, the reason this burrow is kind of pointed uphill is because in case of flooding. So if it floods, they want the chicks to be able to get to higher ground even within the burrow. So if it floods, they aren't going to be completely trapped without air. So that's why they do it. It's actually quite smart. Another unique thing about these kingfisher chicks is that they are actually born with acidic stomachs, which most birds don't actually have like humans do. And the reason they have these acidic stomachs is so that they can digest bone and fish scales and even shells somewhat, and so that they don't have to regurgitate them. So you've probably heard of owl pellets. So when an owl eats a mouse, they're not going to digest the bones of the mouse. And so their body actually packets these bones. You can hear Lila eating. Sorry. The body's actually going to packet these bones into a pellet, and they're going to regurgitate this. And it's actually really cool because we can look at these owl pellets and we can see what the main diet of an owl is. Well, kingfishers do this as well. So they eat a lot of fish and things that have bones that they don't want to digest or they can't digest. So they're going to create kind of a pellet too, and they're going to regurgitate it. And so we can also study their diet as well through this. And so as a chick is young, they don't do this. They have an acidic stomach that digests things for them. But then as they mature, their stomach chemistry changes and they will start to regurgitate these pellets just like the adults. Kind of gross, but cool fact. All right. I hope you enjoyed learning all about the kingfisher here on Wild Wednesday. As always, my sources are found in the description box below. And if you liked what you saw, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss another video. And check back in on Friday to learn all about the Atlas bear. And as always, stay wild and never stop wondering.